Well, hello again, folks. How you doing? Hope everyone's good. I'm just going to do a short vinyl finds video here. It's a very small stack this time, as I really haven't been going out digging all that much, but still collecting some records. So, what little stack I have here, I just want to show it to you guys. So, just a casual video, as you could say. Here we go. Let's start off with OMD, the album Junk Culture. There we go. See, that's too much glare. So OMD Junk Culture. Now this one is a nice, a special pressing. It's the remastered from the original half-inch analog master tapes, done at half-speed mastering at Abbey Road Studios. I guess it's an anniversary remastering of the record or so. Good album. This is a real good album. Not my favorite OMD album, but it's a good one. It's one I do like. It has, as far as singles, Tesla Girls, Locomotion, Talking Loud and Clear. Those were the big ones. But it's an interesting album to listen to. I think they made this one right after Dazzle Ships, and Dazzle Ships was a really extremely creative record. So I think they went back to writing hits so they can actually make some money. They went back to making money, let's put it that way. And here's the inside sleeve with just nothing but lyrics and credits. And there we are, there's the label. So, it's a good sounding record. I mean, I had a used copy of this for years, and this sounds so much better than my original used copy. The remastered sound really opens up the mix, because there's layers and layers of keyboards in a lot of these tracks, so there's a lot of background noise. But it comes up a little louder. I wouldn't say much louder, but a little louder than the original, so you can actually hear things a little bit better in the background. I noticed I was hearing things in the background that I never even knew was there before, listening to my original copy on vinyl. So this is a good remaster of this album. If you're a fan of this album, I would say go ahead and go for it. And like I say, it's of all the OMD albums, probably not the strongest one, but a good one still. And I really enjoyed this remaster. It's really good. I spun this a couple times in its entirety, and had a good time with it. I saw OMD in concert back in June, so a couple months ago, in Oakland, and they put on a great show. They had a great crowd, and it really was a fun show. And so it made me kind of relive those moments. They only did a few songs from this album when I saw them, but really good stuff. So OMD remastered from Abbey Road Studios. A real good mix. A real good mix if you're used to the original from the 80s like I was. Alright. If anyone's ever heard of this band, I'll be really, really surprised. This is a brand new record. I think it's only been out just over a month, maybe a little longer. And I was actually very, very excited to get a copy of this. It's from the band Giant. And what is the name of this record? Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver. The name of this brand new record from Giant. Now, I'm sure all of you are probably not familiar with the band Giant. They're a melodic hard rock band from the late 80s, early 90s. I had their first album, which was The Last of the Runaways, and their second album, Time to Burn. Those are good albums. If you're into that melodic hard rock sound from the late 80s, early 90s, and the band has been around that long. Their first album came out in '89, I believe. And I have that on vinyl and CD and cassette. It's great. And I have their second one on CD. And that's all I have from Giant. I think they released 2 more albums after that. So this one came out somewhat recently. And it's a real good record for that sound. I mean, they brought back the Giant sound, and it does remind me a lot of their first 2 records actually. Here's a good picture of the band. It is not the original band. It is not the original band. It's the original drummer and the original bass player. And the guitarist and the singer are brand new. So it is, what you're looking here is not the this guy and this guy, these are the original guys and these are the newbies here. This is the drummer, that's the original bass player, and from the original band, that's what's left. And the person who started the band, which his name is Dan Huff, he's the guitarist and lead singer back in the day. He went on to be a great session player and a producer. So he's no longer fronting bands and putting out any music in his own name or under Giant, but he is a very successful producer and session musician. He wrote a couple of songs for this album and they're really good. This whole album I think is really good. If you're, like I said, you got to be a fan of that 80s melodic hard pop rock kind of sound that Giant was known for. And if you're a fan of that, you'll really enjoy pretty much every track of this album. It's on colored vinyl, a really beautiful record. See? Look at that. And I love the label too. It's the same as the album artwork. But gorgeous record. Gorgeous record. And the very first song on this album, which is It's Not Right, sounds like it would have been a hit single back in 88, 89. It had that commercial hard rock sound to it, and very melodic, very sing-along, but still has some crunchy guitar riffs and some pounding drums, deep bass. It's a catchy song, and all these songs are really catchy. A Night to Remember, Hold the Night are really classic sounding Giant songs, melodic rock from the 80s. Beggars Can't Be Choosers is a real fast, upbeat, guitar riff driven song, which really reminds me of songs from their second album. This whole album is just a blast of nostalgia for me personally. They were never really a big band here in America. They're an American band, and they never really were very big in America. So it's one of those things, if you know, you know. But if you dig into their music, and like I said, if you're a fan of that era, there's a lot, they have a lot to offer that is really fun and enjoyable to listen to, and I'm so glad I got this album. I've been spinning it quite a few times, and it always delivers, hence the name Stand and Deliver. Really good album, really fun band. Takes me back to when I was 19, 20 years old, when I was blasting their first album in my car. So this is all new stuff, all new songs, and it, even though it's brand new, just the sound and the spirit of it, and that classic Giant sound, really brought back a lot of memories for me. So I'm so glad to have this in my collection. I love this album. I wish they would tour it and do shows around here. I would go in a heartbeat. Fun record, really fun record if you're into 80s rock. That's a good one to have in your collection. Okay, we're going to go old school on you. Old school. Hall & Oates, or Daryl Hall and John Oates. They never really called themselves Hall & Oates. Abandoned Luncheonette. I think this came out in 1973. I've always wanted this record. Some of my friends that are a little older than me, and they know I'm into 80s pop, but also like prog, they say, well, then listen to this. See, it's not a prog record, but it's not your standard pop music either. So, like, I think you would dig this. And so, you know, I wanted to find a copy that wasn't beat up looking, because I did find this in record stores a lot, but the records and the cover were never in good condition, so I always passed. I finally found a good copy, a real good copy, clean copy, in great condition. Let's take it out here. There we go, that's on the Atlantic label. Abandoned Luncheonette. Really good album. I enjoyed every track of this. 70s Hall & Oates. It's something I want to dig into. Of course, I've heard the 80s songs. I had those records. Even back when they were brand new, I had them. Like songs like Man Eater and Kiss on My List, and so on. We all grew up in the 80s. We know, we're well aware of Hall & Oates. But this album, it has one hit, which is the song She's Gone. which I've heard a bunch of times. It's one of my favorite songs from them. And that's the big hit on this album. But other than the big hit, there's some really good songs on this record. I've only spun it maybe twice in its entirety. But it's such a cool, chilled out listen. I love listening to this album. But you got to be, I mean, I kind of have to be in that chill mood where I just want to just relax and chill with the music. And this is a perfect album to do that with. I've been enjoying the hell out of this album. Like I said, I only spun it twice, start to finish, but really, really dig this album. So glad to have it. And here's another oldie I finally got that I'm so glad to have. It's the best of Sam and Dave. And, you know, I've ever since every time I see the Blues Brothers movie, there's a couple of their songs in the soundtrack, and of course, on Saturday Night Live, the Blues Brothers did a cover of Soul Man, which is one of their songs from Sam and Dave. Ever since then, I thought it would be nice to have this on vinyl. And and actually, I didn't really have that much luck finding this when I remembered to look for it. Excuse me. Sometimes when I go digging, you know, we get excited and start digging for records and surprised at what we do find, and I just sort of forget to keep an eye for this. But one day I went in the record store and found this really nice copy. This is a reissue, but they were selling it for like $10. I thought, okay, I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to finally pull the trigger and get the best of Sam and Dave, and I'm so glad I did. I love listening to this. Great songs. Great songs. I don't really know much about Sam and Dave other than the songs I heard on the Blues Brothers movie and Soul Man. I really didn't know much about them. But every time I watch the Blues Brothers movie and some of their songs comes on, it really makes me want to go out and find the album on vinyl, just so I can chill with it. And of course I like these inserts with all the other albums that Atlantic Records has, kind of R&B themed records. Really cool. Anyway, back to Sam and Dave. Really great stuff. And like Hall & Oates, this is another album that you could just put on and chill with. And that really was fun for me. I'm so glad I finally pulled the trigger and found a good copy. This was for like $12. And I absolutely love listening to this. Let me see if there's a picture of him. You can see him better. I absolutely love listening to this. It is a fun album of great classic R&B songs, soul R&B songs, whatever you want to call it. I call them soul and R&B. Really love it, and so glad to have it finally in the collection. This was so much fun and joy to listen to. So much. Alright, now we're going to go to my childhood. This is kind of embarrassing a little bit, but I do like this band, and I do like this compilation. We're going back to the late 70s, early 80s, once again, for the band Shalamar. This is the greatest hits album from Shalamar. When I was just a kid, you know, we're talking 1978, 79, 80, with my family, my brothers and sisters, we used to watch Soul Train on television. And this was one of the bands that I used to love watching on Soul Train. The few times they were on there. And this lady here, Jody Watley, and I forget this guy's name. They were both Soul Train dancers that were discovered and put into this band. So really cool, really cool. And, you know, back in the day, I used to love their songs, and they used to play them on, we had an R&B radio station here in town. They used to play a lot of Shalamar, and I really loved it. Songs like Second Time Around, Make That Move, A Night to Remember. Some great songs, great R&B pop songs. And back in those days, R&B bands could rival rock and roll bands. As far as record sales and fans, and can they fill concert halls, and can they sell a lot of posters and appear in a lot of magazines. They were just as big as the rock bands. And I remember I talk to my brothers and sisters all the time. I say, Don't you remember back in the day there were so many good R&B bands? There was a lot of R&B bands back in the day. And now it's all solo artists. I mean, I'm sure there's a few bands out there, but they're not as known as they were back in the day. There was a lot of good R&B bands back in late 70s, early 80s era, and this was one of them. And man, did I enjoy this compilation of hits that they had. They would go on to do more hits, but really cool. It is on the Solar label, and Solar stood for Sounds of LA Records, which I believe was co-owned by Don Cornelius, who was the host of the TV show Soul Train. He owned a piece of it. I don't think he owned all of it. So he was very instrumental in putting Shalamar together, I'm sure. Or I'm assuming, anyway. Oh man, some cool R&B pop music on this record. This is a fun record to throw on the turntable, turn up, and just have a good time. These were fun dance songs back in the day. I remember my brothers and my sister, they used to love listening to this type of music. And they turned me into a fan when I was a kid, just a little kid. So whenever I see groups like this, or Earth, Wind and Fire, Gap Band, Confunction, it always reminds me of those days. So really good album. Shalamar's Greatest Hits. I wish they would reunite and do shows, but they can't stand each other. All right, so let's continue on. Some 12-inch singles here. This one is very dear to my heart. I was so excited when I found this in the record store because I've never seen it before. And it's not really a 12-inch single. It's just a little collection of songs. It's from Rush, and it's called Rush Live. And this is basically to promote the live album, Exit Stage Left. So this was a single to promote the live record. And this is a very cool, for a very big Rush fan, geek like me, and to find something like this in the record store, especially because I've never seen it before until I scored it, was real exciting for me. And the songs that are featured on this are Tom Sawyer, A Passage to Bangkok, and Red Barchetta, all taken from Exit Stage Left, the live record. Oh man, this was fun to find. And all these, one side plays in 45 speed, the other side plays, they're both played in 45 speed. Okay, I must be thinking of another single. But there we are. There's the label there. This is such a fun little album to have. This is a cool collection piece for a big Rush fan, for a big vinyl collecting fan. This kind of checks all the checks all the points. Really, I really dig this. I've only listened to this once because I've heard live versions of those songs hundreds and hundreds of times. Plus, I have 2 copies of Exit Stage Left, so it's not like I'm hearing something I never heard before. I'm just seeing something I've never seen before. I've never seen this collection of songs before, so this is a real neat little collector piece that I got, and very excited to put into the Rush vinyl collection. Oh man, I wish more things like this would pop up now that Rush really isn't a band anymore, since the passing of Neil Peart, or Peart, I always say. Even though I know Peart's not the right way to say his name, I still like saying it. Peart. It's Peart. But anyway, since he passed away, there's no more Rush, basically. They won't be touring anytime soon or at all. So I'm glad I got to see them as many times as I did while they were still touring the U.S. So this is a really cool. I wish more items like this would come out, just so you can remember how cool of a band they were. But awesome stuff. The last 12-inch single is from Pat Benatar, and it's more or less for the song Invincible. There it is right here. Let me take it out of the sleeves so you can get a better look at it. Try not to get so much glare in there. I have other 12-inch and 7-inch singles of the song Invincible, so that's not the reason I bought this. It's the B-sides, the other songs on here. Besides Invincible, we get a live version of Promises in the Dark, which she sounds great on. She really sings that song really good, especially live. And then we get an instrumental version of Invincible, and then another live recording of the song Heartbreaker, which again she sings so good. She sounds so good on those live tracks. And that's why I bought this 12-inch single. I wanted those live tracks on vinyl. Invincible, you know, I got 12-inch singles, 7-inch singles, so I'm good. But don't really have much of her live recordings on vinyl. A few. I have a few, but so whenever I see them in the wild, I snatch them up fast. I am a fan of hers. I do like Pat Benatar. I've never seen her live, and I one of these days I'm going to do something about that, because she still tours, and I think she's touring with Bryan Adams this summer. They might have already came to my area. I don't know. I got to check. I really got to check her out live. She's one of my favorite singers, and definitely worth seeing live. So, cool 12-inch single from Pat Benatar. Basically got it for the live versions. We're going to end on a 7-inch single from U2, In God's Country. Not a 45 you see out there very often. In fact, this is the one I was thinking of, where the front, the A side is played in 45 speed, and the B side is played in 33 1/3. It's on this that they do that, because the B side contains 2 songs, where the A side only contains 1 song. Oh, had it the wrong way. There it is. On the B side, we have the songs Bullet the Blue Sky and Running to Stand Still, all album versions, which makes this a really cool 45 to own, because I like the B sides just as much as I like the A side song. So this was a really cool 45 to put in the collection, my U2 45 collection. Really, really good collection of songs. So really happy to put this in there. When I got this, I had this strong feeling that I had this already. I still haven't checked to make sure. I'm almost 100% certain I already have this, but this was in such great condition, I didn't want to leave it behind. I still haven't checked to see if I have it already. But in case I do, I got a real good copy to boot. So there we go. Alright, that's it. That is the small little vinyl stack I got here. And these are really fun records to listen to. I really dig listening to these and just going nuts on them. Real fun records to have, so real glad that all those are in the collection now. Alright, so leave me a comment. Let me know if you like what you saw, or if these records bring back any memories for you. I'd love to chat with you. I miss you guys. Hope everyone's well, and I'll see you next time. Later days.